And so here's another. Objection number two. I want to shop around before deciding.
Yeah, that's a common objection, and it's not always a stall. A lot of it bears in trust. Here's how I'd handle it. I'd try to make them feel comfortable and say, look, I understand you want to make the best decision. Most of our customers feel the same way. But, when they looked at all the variables, they found that we had the best combination of sales and service and price for this vehicle that you're looking at. And so you try to, again, isolate that objection. So what's the one thing you need to either feel comfortable moving forward today or to where you're comfortable in making that decision? And then when they answer that question, that's when you try to focus in and overcoming that. Here again, part of negotiation is just overcoming the no's. I'm not ready to buy today. I want to shop around. We always told NO means not NO, it means KNOW. I don't know enough to make the decision today. So, if they decided they weren't going to do business today, I'd say, fine, here, take this Advanta-STAR competitive comparison with you.
Mhm.
When you compare side by side our vehicle and whatever else you're looking at, it's going to be clear why we're going to be the best choice with this vehicle here. And that way, there's plenty of confidence in what you're doing. They can be confident because, there's nothing to hide. Everything's out there. They've got a price, they've got the features, benefits, and advantage. And, when you feel confident in the product that you're, selling, they're going to be back. They're going to be back.
Mm.
Yeah, I always telegraphed that I was definitely completely comfortable with them shopping around when would introduce the Advanta-STAR comparisons. And this is like a 1-2. First of all, you say, well, that's great. I understand you really want to make your decision based on full knowledge, having everything, in hand and knowing exactly what everybody offers. And so before you go, and again, that's telegraphing, yeah, I'm not going to hide their keys. I'm not going to have the manager lock the door on them or anything. Yeah. Before you go, uh, we subscribe to a third-party information source that has all of the information on all of our vehicles and all of the competitors too. And I'd like to have that. I'd like to let you look at that for your consideration, and I could probably get a copy made for you too, so that you can take it with you. How does that sound? And so this does two things. First of all, it puts them at ease that them saying they want to shop is not going to be a confrontational thing. But the second thing it does is it slows them down and it gives you uh, a way to make some time to go get the sales manager, the floor closer, whoever it is, to get a second party involved so that everybody can help see what the objection is and everybody can uh, help them make a good decision. So you can then excuse yourself and say, let me go get that information for you.
Mm.
Obviously it's
No,
on your desktop, it's on your laptop, it's on your iPad, depending on what you're showing them. But if you're going to let them take a copy with you, then you can go and excuse yourself, go talk to a manager and run off a copy of one or two of the comparisons against the vehicle they're shopping. And that
yeah,
gives you a chance to talk to the manager, tell them what's going on, and see if there's some other way they'd like to approach this.
yeah, that's a great point with, and I used to do something similar. I create what we call an exit packet. And that way, back in the day when everybody had brochures that they would give them. So what would a typical salesperson do? They give them a card, staple a business card to it and say, call me when you're ready to buy. But so we would do an exit packet. And, again, it depends on the way the customer is, where they are in their journey. Somebody 6 months out, they might not really be looking for numbers. But if they're ready to buy and they're not quite ready to make that decision, that's where you get the help. And I like the way you segued into here, let me go print that off. And then that way the manager comes in and the manager, they can pick up where you left off, especially if you got that report ready to go. Because they don't know specifically, what you're shopping against, or, you may have found out early on what they were competing against and you
If
had
not,
that
you should
report.
find out then, right?
Yeah, but so you may have already had that report printed out, especially if it was a set appointment. But a fresh up walk in the door, there's no way you're going to know that, and you're going to have to take the time to pull it up. But it's a great segue to bring in that help, that added management assistance. And the beauty of of what we call that exit packet, if you will, is when they went home and maybe they shop in 4 or 5 different retailers. At the end of the day, whose information stood out? Ours. Okay. Everybody else may have given a brochure and a price on the back of a business card. But with us, we've got a detailed report showing where we're better than the other guy. It's laid out using the third-party sources that we cite. And so that's where the transparency comes in. And again, I know a lot of dealerships, they don't like the customer to walk. They want them to buy. And, they didn't really like us letting the customers go. But I can tell you, I had a whole lot of be-back dust and that worked. And I sold a lot of returning customers. They just needed that time to make the decision.
If you're doing this, you may not need the be-back dust, because if you're going ahead and you're giving them all this information and you're slowing them down, you're getting a TO if necessary, you're only telegraphing that you're giving them some be-back dust. Basically, you're trying to keep them in the dealership, especially if you're going to go ahead and let them peruse the Advanta-STAR comparison material on your iPad or on your desktop right there in the dealership. That's why I always hesitate a little bit before doing a printout. But it's 2 different ways to do the same thing.
Yeah. And it's effective, as you said, in both ways. And one of the things, the segues was, look, before you go, let me share this with you. And that's assuming that, you haven't brought it up earlier in the road to the sale. And we talked about this before. It keeps the customers engaged in the process while you go get help. And so you're right. Ultimately, no, we don't want the customers leaving because, in a lot of cases, your chances of seeing them ever again are very remote. But, with good follow-up and if you've done your job, you can get, like I said, I sold a heck of a lot of be-backs. So, okay, let's go ahead and move on to some of the other objections.
Thanks for watching. If you liked the video, hit the like button, subscribe for more, and drop a comment below. We'd love to hear from you, and it really helps out.